Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our biweekly Dev Sync. Today, we're going to go around the table, get an update from everyone, what we've been working on. Nazar, would you go first, please?
Yep. Since Sync on Monday, I primarily fixed the block weight calculation in the chain. It was working as longest chain before as a fallback. Now it's fixed. It should be proper. There were some minor cleanups and refactoring regarding decoupled execution after I reviewed the code. Beyond that, I mostly was busy with non-coding stuff. That's about it.
Awesome. Thanks, Nazar. Any questions? You guys know the difference between heaviest chain and longest chain? Okay, I guess we'll go through that on the protocol sync. All right, Liu-Cheng, you're up next.
Okay, so I primarily get the bare minimum, like the decoupled execution version gets merged into the event branch. Yeah, that's my main job in the last 2 days. Yeah.
Thanks, Liu-Cheng. And what are you going to be working on next?
Previously we have talked about like we merged the external collator binary into the subspace node, but now I have realized that it might be a little premature to do this kind of job, and we can talk about that more in the next meeting. And we have a job that to make a custom, like a proposal to decouple the block proposing from the extrinsic execution. That's definitely we need to do in our next step. So I might work on that to make a custom proposal block proposal. Okay.
Okay. So it's probably best to wait until we go through the spec to start working on that, because there's a very specific way that we need to do that. But are you saying that you wouldn't be able to start working on, like, because we have the problem where the collator creates the embedded primary node, or sorry, the secondary chain sort of instantiates the primary chain, and we were going to flip it so the primary chain creates the secondary chain in the
I know that we will eventually have this like kind of working flow, but for now I'm not sure we should do it right now.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure that's the best choice.
Okay, well, let's discuss that on the decoupled execution call tonight.
Yeah.
But it sounds like you're kind of blocked until we can have that discussion.
Nope. I have, as I've said, we have to make a custom, like the proposal factory implementation.
Okay.
Currently, you when you propose a block, you execute each of the transaction. We don't need that to be executed when proposing the block. So we need to decouple the propose the block and execute the transaction.
Right, but the idea is that eventually we will not have proposed blocks, we will have proposed bundles. They need to be like
You basically you need a custom like proposed block similar to the current one.
It's actually not going to work.
You have to collect the transactions, right?
But it's not a block. It's a bundle. It's not. There's no notion of execution to begin with. It's just an extrinsic.
It's not. It's a list of extrinsics.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So let's. So I guess let's talk about that tonight. It's going to be too. It's sort of out of scope right now.
Yeah.
I just. I'm just saying. I think if you spend any time on that right now, it's going to be, you're going to have to refactor it. So let's wait till we discuss it. I think there's a misconception about the next step here.
I just started looking at the code. Yeah, we basically we have two options. We like to make a customization to the current proposal factory, or we write a simpler one from scratch for the transaction bundles. Yeah, we might start with starting a native version for the transaction bundles. Yeah, that should work too.
Okay. Yeah, let's discuss that. Let's discuss that later.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Any questions for Liu-Cheng? All right, Serge, up next.
Okay, so mostly I was working on trying to build a state mint Docker image from source code, and it was taking a lot of time to actually build it locally because there were many dependencies. And in the meantime, I was checking Farmer desktop, Subspace desktop code base, the Vue.js part, because I'm more or less aware about Rust code from previous session with John Heater. And also I've been checking on the environments. Today there was an issue with on a test B on Relayer regarding, so there was a certificate problem with state mine. So the endpoint didn't return like proper response, and I updated config, so we use another endpoint from OnFinality, and that solved the problem. And the other day I also updated something on test A, also configuration. I think there were like API keys missing for OnFinality endpoints, and there were also some issues related to that. And yeah, I guess that's it.
Are we able to, is test A synced up yet? Are we able to do a transition between the two?
Last time I checked, it was not synced, but it was like maybe 3 or 4 hours ago.
Okay. Do you have any idea like how many more days that will take right now?
I think it was last time I was checking, it was still processing blocks from archive.
It's 48 gigabytes right now.
Out of
like 80
or something, yeah.
Okay. How long has that been running for?
I think I restarted. I did a clean restart on test A on Monday.
So it's been running for 2 days and it's still on the archives. Seems like it took like 4 hours the last time we tested it to sync all the way through the archives, like less than 24 hours for sure.
Or maybe yesterday.
You were syncing the node, not Relayer.
Sorry?
You were syncing the node. It's like Relayer upload is slightly different.
Right. I thought the last time that we that it synced from the archives, I guess not from the network, that it did like the RocksDB sync in, the Genesis archiving in like less than 24 hours the last time we ran it.
Yeah, so I restarted yesterday. Test A, I restarted yesterday. I just checked my daily updates.
Okay. All right. It still feels like that's slower than expected. So I guess we need to figure out what's going on there. So the goal is to get this to less than 24 hours every time we restart. If it takes like a week every time we restart and sync, then there's some bottlenecks or inefficiencies we've got to identify and work out. Because I mean, there's no network here, right? It's just local disk reads and writes. So it should. I mean, I know there's a network with like the network file system or however the cloud disk is actually working, but it should be very, very small compared to like syncing through OnFinality's API.
Well, we have several bottlenecks. One of them is to upload something into the chain, which is limited by like 3 point something megabytes per second, ideally. but in practice it's slower. And also we have a Node.js process which is single-threaded, so it's also limited like by how quickly it can sign things and stuff like that. I think
Right.
Node.js in this case is bigger bottleneck.
Also, I was noticing that after we switched to WebSocket, there were many issues with connecting to parachain nodes. For example, like Karura, Hydra, and few others. They were like the connection was dropped many times. I saw in the logs, so it took some time for Relayer to reconnect. So maybe if we switch back to HTTP, it will be faster.
Okay, but do we have any kind of like empirical study to show like what the bottleneck actually is? It sounds like there's just a lot of conjecture here about what might be going on.
I see that it's like 100% CPU usage on the Node.js side all the time. So it's logical to assume that that is the reason. Just
Okay.
cannot go any faster.
Okay. All right. So no idea when it's going to work. We'll just have to kind of check every day and wait and see if it's complete, I guess. Okay. All right. Any questions for Serge? All right, Leo, you're up next.
Regarding the infrastructure, yesterday I was trying to update the latest Terraform template, but I was having problems trying to import and merge the state, my local state, with the changes that are done in the cloud. But I think that is just a matter of time to fix it. It's just ignorance about Terraform. So I have to work in there. I have shared also a branch with this Polkadot Explorer author fixed, and it's in review by Nazar. And I was checking some comments and fixing them to make it to send the pull request to Polkadot. And also I have updated the Relayer frontend. I have changed the way we get the queries and everything. So it's a big refactor, like a lot of files. I was trying to clean up before making the pull request to not make it harder to review. And after that, I have another pull request where I made some changes in the components in terms of React, like some pendings to do in the card, in some card components. I have created some custom components for that. And after that, I have another pending pull request. I added some kind of progress bar for each parachain and for the totals, but it's not working really well. I want to confirm the previous pull request because as we got like 18 parachains now, every time I get a new block, I have to get the latest block from the parachain, and maybe it could be too many requests for each change we have. So yeah, I was working in that, and yeah, those are my updates for now. I think that for today I will be focused in closing this Relayer and the Polkadot apps pull request that I have open.
All right, thanks for the update, Leo. Anyone have any questions? Okay. Regarding the progress bar, we had discussed that a little bit, but did we actually make a ticket or say that we were going to start working on that? I thought that was just like an idea that we had versus something we're ready to implement.
Yeah, I was trying to make it work. That's why I haven't make it like a pull request or anything.
Okay. Yeah, let's be. if it comes to like changing the UI for anything, let's discuss that before we go for any implementation there.
Yeah, sure.
I think that's like a very tricky question of like how to display that without confusing people. So, and I think that we don't want to like update it literally in real time. Like it's fine to update it like once an hour, once every 15 minutes, something like that in terms of what the current block height is. It's only something we even want to display during the initial sync process. It's not something we want to display normally, because normally the expectation is it's caught up to the head of the chain. And it should just be like, green, maybe like yellow is syncing. So there's like, it's a much bigger question here of like how that should be rendered. It was just something we were kind of kicking ideas around, I guess, in the last call. So please don't take like any idea that I say is like we need to implement this right off the bat. It's just purely for discussion purposes sometimes.
Yeah, okay. I will put it aside.
Okay, appreciate the initiative there. Just something we got to think about a little bit more carefully before we implement.
Yeah, it actually impacts in the loading time, so that's why I like leave it from later.
Okay. Okay, thanks, Leo. All right, Ozgun, you're next.
Okay, since Monday I was working on the Subspace desktop, mostly trying to understand what's going on in there, because many things are coming together in there. Finished a crash course on Quasar and TypeScript. Now understanding what's going on in there a bit more. The Tauri part is clear to me at the moment, like how to expose functionality from Rust side to the backend and can be used from the TypeScript. Other than that, I was on Monday evening or Tuesday evening, there was a new bug reproduced in the testing in GitHub CI for the farming. Nazar warned me from Discord, so I was inspecting that bug. I solved it today with a kind of a hacky approach. It's still better than sleep approach. There are no longer sleeps there. It's just communication between the farming and the testing. But Nazar suggested a better way for like an event listener on the commitment for finishing the commitment. I will implement that tomorrow. And also, I was writing the documentation. We have syncs with Nazar, Justin, and Leo on that for the Nazar's latest update for the snapshot releases. Other than that, yeah, these are my updates.
Awesome, thanks, Ozgun. And we'll talk more about the farmer in quite a bit of detail on the next call, so we can save that discussion.
Okay.
And I saw your the thing you sent me for the parody website. I'll try to get a chance to look at that today. Hopefully we can get that submitted soon to them. Thank you for doing that.
No problem.
Does anyone have any questions for Ozgun? All right, Justin, you're up next.
Yeah, so over the past couple days, as Ozgun mentioned, been linked up with him, been working on the snapshots that Nazar released, been specifically trying to go through and test them all. So far, Linux seems pretty good, having some slight bugs that reported and created an issue on GitHub on the Windows edition. Nazar needs some more information on that, so I'll get that updated for you here shortly, Nazar. But just going to be finishing up testing those guys, just have the Mac one to continue to do and figure out what's going on with the Windows one. But other than that, so far, it's looking pretty solid. Hoping to finish that up shortly and get the rest of the team members running by the end of the week.
Okay, awesome, Justin. That's great. Let's put, in terms of those three, let's always put Mac first, because that's right now what most of the team is on, so that we can get them first, and then Windows, and then Linux. I mean, it pretty much already runs in Linux because it's Docker, but it's nice to know that it runs in a binary in Linux as well. But really, Mac and Windows are going to take priority. So, just to kind of keep things moving along faster, let's do Mac first, get that rolled out to the team. So even so that like the rest of the team can start running on a Mac on their machines while you're still testing Windows and Linux before you roll it out to those people. Or at least the people that do have Mac can do that, which I think is a majority of the team on the business side.
Definitely. I just started with Linux because it's the system I'm working out of currently.
Yeah. Okay. And you get, so you, it sounds like you guys are all synced up there on the bug reporting, all that's being tracked in GitHub.
Yeah.
What were the bugs that were identified?
So far, I got an unexpected epoch change on the Windows version.
Again.
Yeah. So need to provide a little bit more detailed log for Nazar there. I'll get that updated after our meetings. That's the only one I've run into so far. Really, the biggest thing has been trying to figure out the proper commands and everything.
So have you been able to sync a node on Linux like completely and start producing blocks?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was able to start a Bootstrap node locally, and then my laptop I ran as like a node connecting to the Bootstrap node, and that ran with no issues.
Have you been able to connect to the test network and sync?
Test network is on a completely different version of software, both of them. So it's physically impossible to connect right now.
What do we need to do to get them so that we can, so Justin can connect to the test network with a binary?
At least we need to finally sync test A to working state, switch to that one. Then we can restart test B, and then we can deploy no software there, and then we can start testing.
Okay.
Which is why I just used like my local Bootstrap node as a temporary.
So
we were almost there, but we had that, we ran out of disk space on test A. That's why we had to start everything from scratch.
Okay. So as soon as test A syncs, which will be sometime in the future, undetermined, we can switch everything over to test A, and then we have to deploy a new set of binaries, or what? Can you just walk me through step by step what we have to do, Nazar?
I'll just restart with the new container on testnet to just start working, and then everyone can start to connect to it. There will be new binaries by that time, because we can build it anytime we want. These are like test snapshots just to verify it works. They're not the latest one.
Okay, let's you and I sync offline on that. Okay, great. So we can't, so nobody can sync the testnet right now. It's just software doesn't support it. It doesn't matter if it runs on Mac, Windows, or Linux, basically. Okay.
They can connect to Justin.
Yeah, that's meaningless. Okay. Okay. Cool. Well, we're almost out of time. I'll just give a quick update. Mostly been working on fundraising. We had a meeting with David Say yesterday, Nazar and I, discussing the finer details of the upgrades we need to make to the randomness construction in our consensus part of the protocol. I think Nazar is pretty clear on that now, and we started talking about the scalability piece, the horizontal scaling in more detail. Otherwise, working on the decoupled execution spec for Liu-Cheng, and hoping to get more into the rest of the engineering planning here pretty soon. That's about it on my updates. Any questions for me? All right. Any final comments or things we need to discuss? All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you guys next week.